Right, anyway, let me get into my spiel. And welcome back to the Basil Breen Boombox. I'm here with my very special guest, Thomas Cameron, aka Mr. Classical is what I came up with. He is a classical singer who has been nominated for a Brit Award, and he also hosts his own radio show on True Radio UK. What's the name of that show? Is it just like the Thomas Cameron Show?
It is, yeah, the Thomas Cameron Show. It's the weekend breakfast show that I do. So
the weekend breakfast show.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So, he's well established in the game, and I'm really excited to kind of be able to talk to him here and pick his brain on a few things. But we've learned here at the Basil Breen Boombox that we need to go back to the beginning of time to find out how our guest got started in their particular domain or field. So I suppose, how did you get started in the earliest, most fundamental level of at singing in general?
Yeah, no, that's a great way. That's a long way back, but it just started.
Yeah, let's go back.
I like it. Let's go right back. But yeah, it's kind of started with just singing along to the radio, listening to music, and there seems to be a lot of musicians that always talk about that as well. I used to always hear records on at home, or always used to listen to music in the car, and that's kind of where it started for me. So I used to go to the bus, used to catch the bus to go to school. Mum used to drive me to the school bus, and she always used to have the radio on, and I remember always singing along, harmonising, kind of trying to add little ad-libs in, that
Well,
yeah, and that was kind of it. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think, I want to be a singer, or this could be a job. That was it. That just for fun, that was
yes.
the fundamentals of it, like that we all do, just to express yourself, don't you, and sing along.
Wow.
But Mum was brilliant. She really picked up on it and said, you can actually sing, and you look so, you light up when you sing. It looks like it's your thing, which was nice. And she spotted that quite early on, and that's kind of like where I may have discovered it, I think, really.
Yes. It was just a kind of natural tendency to just, like, the music pulled you in a way, just harmonising and ad-lib, and it's so funny because you can improvise with music as it's playing with you. It's very interesting. It's a more enjoyable way to actually. It's like a more interactive way to listen to music. I find sometimes if I'm trying to add a little bit, or what I've done actually is experiment with. There's this software you can use to remove the vocals from tracks, and you could just have the backing tracks. And in my car, I'll just improvise as a way to try and come up with new melodies on top of that. But that's very interesting, actually. So then, once she spotted that, did she decide, let's try and see if we can formalise this practice of singing for Thomas?
Yeah, definitely. That's where it started, really. So she's kind of spotted that, jumped on it, and I wasn't super academic. It wasn't in school. I wasn't really into all of the your main subjects. I was definitely sort of wanted to be doing something else, which obviously clearly was music. And at school, I got given the part of Joseph in the school play. And that was literally, I've never done anything before. It wasn't like I was doing a club and doing drama and
yes.
They thought, he'll be great at it. It was just out of the blue, and the teacher said, do you know what, I'm going to give you this part. You really knuckle down, work really hard on it, get your focus sorted out, So she saw that I was obviously just wanting to be doing something else, academic.
Wow. What age were you at this age?
I was year 6 in primary school, so it's like 10, 11 years old, something like that.
Wow.
So
okay.
Super young, but such a great age for it. And it was just, just the school production, but they did such a great job. They had a theatre, they had the lights, the sound, and we did rehearsals for months on it. And that
brilliant.
Was really good. And then you mentioned like how it became more formalised. Well, basically, from there, I said, right, if you're doing a play, you need to know how to use your voice properly. You need to know how to look after it, warm up, that kind of thing. So she got me vocal lessons at that point, exactly that
brilliant.
point, to practice the song. She said, even if you don't want to continue it, it would be just great for you to have those lessons when you get ready to sing the songs, so they can.
Yes.
And then it kind of stuck. Really, that was it. If you like.
Wow, it's so interesting because it's great that your mother. Like, she obviously was a guiding light and was able to show you that, we're going to do this. If you're going to do this, let's do it right. Let's show you how that we could prepare for something in the world that you are going to do. And I think that's such a cool, even just as a meta lesson, to realise that if you're going to do something, we can actually prepare and get ready for that event in a way. So that's kind of like there's sort of like a meta principle involved in that. And then it's just beautiful to hear that, like, because, your parents can have such a massive impact on your life, because their job hopefully is to try with their, like, vision for what a good life is and the lessons they've brought up in their life to try used that to raise you. So it obviously had a very positive outcome.
Yeah, absolutely did. I think that's such a good point, actually, isn't it? There's something you can take forward in everything that you do. And I love that you brought that up there and picked up on that because, you know, you can always prepare yourself. You know, like you say, if you've got this opportunity, it's such a great thing. Why not prepare? Do it.
Yes.
Get the most you can out of it. You know.
Exactly.
Did,
so
you know?
that's like showing you at such a young age. And then how did you? So obviously you were 10. You were Joseph. How do you think that went after the big show?
Yeah. Well, I remember we did like 3 shows, I think. It was like a Thursday, Friday, maybe a Saturday. And I mean, like, again, that was that experience of, wow, you do like 3 shows of the same thing, different audience every night. Wow. Can you do that? You know, I have no idea at that age. And that was great.
Yes.
You know, I thought it was great. You know, I thought it was the best thing in the world. I thought I was amazing at that point. I mean, listening back, it'd be probably quite funny to hear. But, you know, I got a tailor. Somebody came in and made me a little Joseph Technicolor dream coat. I stitched it and from scratch and tailored it.
Whoa.
You know, I can leave school now. I've got
Yeah. I'm waited.
Yeah, and you know, like you do at that age, it's brilliant, isn't it? And I thought, yeah, sorted, great, got a coat and all that. I can just skip off into the sunset now.
My singing career is over. It peaked.
Yeah, exactly. But there was obviously a lot more work involved after that. But you know, it was a great thing for me, and I remember it. You know, so many times people come and say, "Where did it start?" Or you know, "How did you find out you like that kind of music?" Or you like to sing, and that's what I always get back to. You know, sing along to the radio, and then actually going right. How can I do this? And then before I could even get to that opportunity to think, how do I make this something more?
Yes.
The teacher came along and did that for me, if you like. So it's amazing.
Yes. And so after this show, after this initial, earning of the jacket and stuff, how did your singing sort of career or trajectory progress from then?
Yeah, so I did a few school plays, and I said, you know what, I really want to keep up these singing lessons. I really enjoy it. This is great. I'm loving my singing. It's like a great way to express myself as well, you know.
Yes.
Like I said, the academic stuff, you know, I would do it, and I got through it okay, but obviously that wasn't me, you know. I wasn't like, yeah, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
So I with that, because that was like my little superpower, you know. And then I remember that, again, comes back to my mum, but she took me to see a live performance in one of our like biggest local venues. It was Paloma Faith, and I can remember thinking, I don't want to go, you know. Oh God, do I have to go? It's a school night. I'm tired. You know how tough life is. I was about 12, 13 at the time. I mean, life's at its hardest, of course, then, isn't it? And, you know, I was really grumpy, don't want to go. But she took me, and she knew what she was doing. You know, it was just wanting to inspire me. And I went to see the show, and I can remember being like, what? This is insane. Like, there's somebody else on stage, a whole band, you know, your insides move when the bass drums hit, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. You never experienced that, you know?
Yes.
Through these massive stacks for the first time ever. You know, that experience when, you know, you used to just maybe hearing somebody like busking and thinking, oh, that's it. That's what music
Yes.
That's as loud as it gets, you know? Not having that, because, you know, busking is an amazing thing, but I mean, in terms of like the volume and the immersion.
Yes, and the impact it has on your physiology.
Yeah, you didn't know that was a thing, and I can remember being blown away. And she's obviously just like Paloma Faith's just quite wacky and is just crazy and out there. And I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do. And that was the pinnacle moment. And I remember going on like eBay and just like, I had like a bit of pocket money, and I just bought a microphone and a speaker. And I said,
no way.
Yeah, I'm going to go out and gig. That's what I'm going to do. And I did. And I remember singing at like fairs. I remember one year I was at like some sort of local fair, and I was in something like, it was like a cattle shed basically. I can remember singing in there, and it was just mad.
What were you singing? Like these classical renditions?
Yeah, well, at that point I wasn't even singing classical stuff that much. I was kind of singing like, you know, like
contemporary.
Yeah, kind of just the hits, you know, of Coldplay and all that kind of stuff at the time. And that was kind of it. And I remember that lady came up to me and said, "Oh, you're really good. Have you got a card?" And I went, "What? A card? Have you got business cards?" "No, I'm just singing it." Like, what? I'm like, what was I, 14 at that point?
Yeah.
So, well, just write down your number. We want to book you for our wedding. I was like, what? And it was just mad.
Whoa.
From that, I thought, well, I'm going to have to make business cards, and I'm going to have to start doing this properly. So I made a Facebook page and did cards, and Mum supported me, and Dad supported me with that as well, because Dad's very businessy, so he was great at that. Oh, you need business cards, you have this on it, and that kind of stuff. And that's kind of where it was. I was just singing it. I can remember doing like 100 gigs in a year when I was like 15.
Oh my goodness.
All that kind of stuff. And just getting out there and experiencing everything, you know, from fairs to weddings to parties to whatever it may be, festivals, just everything. And that's it was literally as easy as that, really. Like, it wasn't easy, but as in that transition.
Yeah. So it's so funny because you just got this inclination that, okay, this is what I want to do. Yeah. Gonna go onto eBay, gonna get the mic, so I can start performing, let's say. And then as you're on the pursuit, that's when you really find out what you might need. As in, you don't find out from not taking the steps. Like, you found out you needed business cards because someone asked you, do you have a business card? It's like, oh, I need to get business cards. Oh, I need to get this now. I need to get that. And it emerges from basically taking that first step, but feeling that pull into it. It's just, Jesus.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Yeah, that's a really good point. I love that you mentioned that as well. That kind of point of you're finding things on the way. You know, like, oh, you've got a business card. Oh, yeah, I need one of those. And then someone who's like, oh, we want to book you. Can you play guitar and sing? I was like, oh, I can't play guitar. So then I had to learn how to play guitar, and I literally sorted out with the money that I earned from the gigs. You know, I was like, right, I'm going to have guitar lessons and learn how to play guitar so that I could play guitar and sing because I was more.
Wow.
So that was kind of the way I kind of didn't pre-plan. You know, I was talking about pre-planning earlier. I mean, it's like I didn't do as much as I could have really, because at that age you just don't think like that, do you? And
no.
Yeah, so it got to that point, and I just sort of every time somebody's asked me to do so, I said, okay, cool, I'll do it, and I'll learn it, and it just throws you in the deep end, makes you do it, doesn't it? I think it's that drive.
Jesus. Yes, exactly. Once you had that fundamental drive that pulled you forward, but it was great that you found this at such a young age as well, because a lot of I didn't start playing guitar until I was 24. And I didn't start singing in and around. Like, I sang a little bit in school when I was in primary school, but it wasn't really it was like in the choir and stuff, but it wasn't until years later that I kind of got back into it, let's say. But it's great to hear, like, when you had the call, you answered the call and you said, I'm coming into this, I'm going to go hard at this. So then where did the transition happen into sort of classical singing then?
Yeah, so that was a really interesting transition actually, because it kind of happened by accident in a way, because I was having the vocal lessons that I explained, and my singing teacher at that time had to go on maternity leave, so she left, and I remember the music teacher, head of music at the school at the time, said, oh, look, when we're going to have to get somebody in to cover during maternity leave. So a lady came in who was kind of much more classical background. So the first lady was very acoustic guitar, so folky, which was brilliant. And that was the start I was doing, really folky pops kind of work. And then, this teacher came in who was very, went to the Royal College of Music, was very classical based, and said, oh, I'm really chuffed that I've got a classical singer. And I was a bit like, who? Who's that? And she was like, I'm talking about you. Like,
oh, well.
And it's just that natural vibrato was there. Like, I never trained that or like practiced and tried to get that. I was just randomly singing it, and it started coming out, and I was like, well, why is that there? And she's like, well, that's just your voice, and that's kind of how I picked it up. And she said, you should do this and this. And I remember I started off singing musical theatre stuff a lot of the time. She gave me loads of books, and I was singing loads of stuff and that kind of style. And then only in the last few years, really, I've sort of transitioned into saying, right, actually, I want to do some more classical stuff. Now my voice matured a bit more as well, and I feel much more confident in my own skin. I've done a few tours, I've kind of done a couple of albums. I know.
Yes.
Feel more confident in yourself, don't you? And I'm like, right, okay, I know that I can take on some classical tracks now. And that's kind of how that happened. It was all by accident, just somebody going on maternity leave. And that's obviously everything that I tour now is that style of music. Wow.
So just getting back down to just the voice in general, because it's if you didn't even know you had vibrato. It was just part of your voice. But obviously you've been singing for a number of years, and I think maybe was there any sort of aha moments or feelings of epiphany when it came to singing that you can point to or remember, or was it just did it just happen?
I think so. I remember working with the piano teacher at the school, and trying to. I said, this was a bit later on, at 16, and I thought, I really want to get an album done with me singing to a grand piano, singing musical theatre stuff. And so the piano teacher at the school was playing on this grand piano in the music department, and I was singing with the mic, and I was just singing these sort of musical theatre. It was like a chess track, I remember actually, from Chess Anthem, and I was singing it, and it was one of those. I was like, yeah, this is right. To do this, and I obviously hadn't toured or recorded at that point. And that was the moment. I remember that, that grand piano, a big sound behind me. I was in this wooden hall, and I was like, yeah, do you know what? That's what I want to do. And that was a big epiphany, kind of with that style, if you like, really.
Interesting. It's just because it's so funny because the classical, I'd say, it's seen more as people with just their voice. Your voice has to be at the top of the game in a way, you know what I mean? Because there's probably so much competition. There's so especially because that's where the top vocal people will go. They'll gravitate towards have you ever done opera and stuff?
Never gone to opera. No, I think I might try it maybe when I'm older. I mean, like my voice, because the voice is like mid-30s, isn't it, to mature for a man? And I think like I feel like I haven't really got to that point yet as well. So I kind of feel, it's classical's like my limit at the moment, and I'm going to work towards that as well.
So what does it mean for a voice to mature?
So like reach like full maturity instead of like in terms of like growth and where it is. So I mean,
Yes.
it's amazing how you think, oh yeah, no, that's, my voice is mature now. My voice has dropped. I'm an adult.
Yeah.
But actually, like the maturity of a voice it takes a long. I think it is. I think I'm right in saying it's in your 30s as well that it actually gets to that point where it's matured and that you can go for it and sing things like opera, because opera's very demanding. Like,
yes.
If you do it too early, you can definitely damage your voice. So like never doing it too early. So
I
have so much great advice from people that said, soon we're getting there. When you're older, and it's not because of my ability, it's to do with just like where my voice is in terms of its age and its maturity.
Yes.
Really interesting. Yeah.
There will be a point where it makes sense to do it, and there'll be less chance of damage in a way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
so,
you've got to know to do it right as well, haven't you?
Yeah. So, how do you think about preserving your voice over time? Like, is that something that you think? Because part of me is like, well, there's a lot of singers I know that I could see that are singing well into their even 70s, 80s. One guy in particular now, and they're pretty. Like, they still have that high standard in a way. But then there's other people whose voice is just gone because maybe they party too hard or they're kind of gravelly. So how do you think about, like, your voice across the entirety of your life, like preserving it? Is there anything you do in particular or think about?
Yeah, well, I think I've always been told, like, warming up is so important and looking after it. Like, if you are ill, if your voice isn't quite there, you're struggling with your voice, then you need to not sing. It's those times that you need to be really, really wary of your voice. But warming up's a big thing for me. I always make sure I do a really thorough warm up for any shows, especially bigger classical shows. If I'm doing like a 2-hour show on tour and I've got like seven shows within the next 15 days or whatever it may be, really
yes,
it's really important. So that's important. And knowing your limits as well, I think, is always good as well. So not forcing yourself. I mean, it's nothing to do. It's not because you're not good. It's just because, that's not where your voice is. If that makes sense,
Yes.
You know your limits. You need to know what you can do. And that's great. That's your voice. Like, embrace it.
Exactly, yeah.
You do. Don't be like, I'm rubbish. I can't hit that note. That's not you. That's just the way your voice has grown. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I do a lot of work with vocal workshops and stuff with a lot of people and lots of students and stuff like that. Younger singers, I'm like, oh, I'm rubbish. Can't hit those notes. Or they'll just be forcing their voice. I'm like, nothing to do. You're rubbish, because it's not that you're like, oh, you've been lazy, you haven't practiced, or that's your voice. We're born with it, and it will grow. And again, it's going to mature, and you might be able to get places you didn't get, a few years ago, whatever it may be. But that's a really important point. But just looking after it is important. Like I think everyone always says, great with their vocal health and stuff like this. It's just hydration. Always keeping your voice hydrated, and sleep as well is a huge thing.
Oh yes.
Yeah, as you know yourself, like you're awesome. Like your music is just amazing.
I appreciate that, but sleep is the most fundamental.
And we know
to everything
we do. Yeah.
Yes, but just on the singing and the warming up. So how, like, when you're doing shows, let's say, and you're talking about a thorough warm up.
Yeah.
Like, how do you avoid warming up too much? Let's say.
Yeah, well, I think there's always a point, and this is what I say again. I'll say to other singers, there's a point where you go, right, I'm ready to sing, like, and I think you'll probably know that as well. You'll get into that zone where you're like,
yes,
just get me on that stage. I want to sing, and you know that you're ready. And I don't know, I don't know if this is the same with everyone, but a lot of people I talk to think the same, but they'll be warming up, and you're like, or you'll just arrive at a venue, and I'm really not ready to sing. Like, you kind of feel that.
You're like, oh no, I couldn't do it now.
Yeah, and within yourself. So get your warm-ups going, and when you start feeling free, and you start, maybe when you're doing the warm-up, you start playing with the warm-up a bit, and sort of, you start adding a little bit of decoration to it or whatever, or say, oh, I can go higher now or whatever. You're like, yeah, no, I'm ready now. I'm feeling brave.
Yes.
Start, pushing boundaries with it, and that's when you're ready to go for it, really.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you
just have to build. Yeah, you kind of have to build. Like, by using your voice over time, you build the intuition. Like, I feel like I still have a lot to learn, and I'm always learning about my voice. And every time it's like week in, especially after recording my album, because I was editing the vocals for that, so I was listening back, picking the takes, and I was listening to my voice over and over and over again. I kind of built up a subconscious idea of how to sing better, let's say, for recorded stuff. So it's like I've noticed that I'm when I'm singing now, it's like I've picked up some things that I'm just like, wow, I just feel like I've just more control, or I've more of a sense of, let's say, pronunciation, and just from listening. I haven't really done like any formal practice. I have that in my head. Like that's a stage that I do want to I do want to step into, but a part of me is like, I'm actually learning a lot just from singing and analysing and just thinking about it.
That's interesting.
So, but with just with vocal range, actually, because you touched on a really interesting point. This is something that I kind of picked up instinctively when I started singing. Right, I thought that singing high was what I should try and do, because that was like what people were impressed by, right? But then I started realising it's not really about singing high, it's about singing well in your range. Everyone has a range. Like you can sing like Billie Jean or a Michael Jackson song in your key. That you can actually, you don't have to sing it in their range. You can sing any song. You just need to find it for your range, and you have a range, and that's actually where you should, like, you need to find that in a way, and that's where you'll do your best work.
Yeah, that's so true. That's such a good point, isn't it? That you have a range, and you can do songs. Don't be afraid to change the key. I think there's so much this pressure, like, well, if I don't do it in that key, then there's no point, because I'm failing because I'm not making it to that point. But that's not the idea, is it? I mean, you've got your range, and make it your own within that. It's not because, maybe Michael Jackson, that obviously that his great point was that being able to hit those great high notes, or other musicians as well that can do that. But then, you don't want to just be another Michael Jackson. Come on, put it in your range and do something that makes you, you. That's like, oh, he's great because he does that. Not, oh, he's great because he can hit the notes that Michael Jackson can hit.
You can hit the same notes. Like, that's like, you can only do whatever you can do. Like, if we did, imagine if you were the only person that existed in the world, and you were singing for just you wouldn't be able to compare against Michael Jackson. It's only because we have the ability to compare against the likes of Michael Jackson, and compare against the whole world and history of music, which I think that's a big people. It's very demoralizing, or if you think about it too. If you think, oh, I'm not in the 99.9% of singers or success or whatever, but really, it doesn't. All you can do is, like, you were born into you at this particular time with these particular genetics, this and that. So all you really could do is make the best of what you got, in a weird way.
Love that. Absolutely. Yeah, you've got to make the best of what you can do, and I think that's the hardest point, isn't it? That idea of that comparison with everyone else, and we're all guilty of that, aren't we? I mean, you see online as well, though. I'll do a song, and Andrea Bocelli might have sung it 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? And okay, well, it's not like Andrea Bocelli. I'm like, well, I know, because I'm not Andrea Bocelli. That's the whole point. And he is insane. He's an absolute hero. Guy, and his voice is insane. But I don't want to be like him, not because he's no good. I never. He is.
No, of course.
It's because he's done that, and that's him. Why would I take him on? He's the guy. He's the man. So I'm gonna do it my own way. So it is funny the amount of times you see that. Oh, it's so and so does this better, or they'll say to me like, oh, you do that better than so and so. I'm like, well, no, I do it differently. I don't do it better.
This is Thomas Carver version.
So I love that you bring that up as well, though, because it's important for people to. And it's not just about singing, is it? There's people that are listening that are saying, "Oh, well, yeah, but I'm not a singer. It's not relevant to me." It's relevant with everything, though. Whatever job you do, what your career, or whatever your work is, you only do it as if as best as you can. Don't.
Yes, exactly.
Competition with yourself, aren't you?
Yes, exactly. And like you hear it bandied about a lot. Like, this is the way that you should. Like, it's good to look out to the world, right, and see people that are aspiring or in a particular domain that you want to achieve success in or improve in, and look at it and say, oh, try to take what you can from that, and be inspired. Don't be disheartened. Be inspired that, oh, somebody can do that. So theoretically, what if I start moving towards this with my particular skill set or in my particular domain? And there's so much room for sort of just inspiration. Be inspired don't be overwhelmed by, oh, I'm never going to be able to do that. Like, I only started learning piano, like, in the last, let's say, year. And now, obviously, I've been playing guitar, I have a bit of musical theory, I've got a bit of musical theory behind me, because I love the theory. It's like a superpower if you learn it in a way that it kind of demystifies everything in a weird way. And it removes, because without, let's say, in all the notes of music, it's just, there's infinite possibilities, but the theory helps you realize the constraints help the kind of creativity in a way. But just on your, so then, right, you've been basically, after this epiphany that, oh, the classical is where I want to go, then, like, it seems, because you were nominated for a Brit Award in the classical music, like, category or whatever, like, you've obviously attained some sort of establishment or success in this domain. Like, what were kind of like the sort of milestones for you as you're in your current life, or as you like stand in front of me now, when you look back, what were kind of some big like milestones that you could say, I'm very proud of their moments?
Yeah, there's a few that come to mind straight away when you mentioned that. Like, you mentioned the Classic Brit Award. That was big. Just not only is it an amazing thing, like, it's a shame it doesn't run anymore. You know, it's not the Classic Brit Awards. It's not a thing anymore. The Brit Awards.
Oh no!
Yeah, just such a shame. So I got to the last one, which is really annoying. So I mean, I just started out. I released my first single. I did a tour, and then I got nominated for one of the categories of the Classic Brit Awards. Went to the ceremony in the Royal Albert Hall, but then COVID happened and it didn't happen, and then they've never brought it back. So it's kind of just got into that. I thought, you know, this was like, you know, got that invite, and it's like, well, no, it's not happening anymore. So that was a real shame, but that was a big moment just because it was early on, and it made me think, you know, you always have that imposter. I mean, we all do, and I still have that now. You know, think you're singing somewhere in this massive stage with somebody, and you're like, you're this person, wow, like, should I be here? And you're like, do you know what, I am here, whatever.
Yeah!
You know, and that's a really important thing, you know, enjoy it, take it.
Yes.
But yeah, so that was big, but it's just because it was early on, it was such a motivational thing. I thought, do you know what, I can, you know, obviously I'm doing all right, people are recognising it, and I went to the ceremony and we got the invite up there, and I got to meet people that are just, you know, at the top of their game, you know, like Michael Ball and Alfie Bow were there, and Alan Jones and Sabrina Tefel, like the guys of the industry, Catherine Jenkins, all of those people, and it's just like they're doing it, they're living it, and I'm around them and I'm here, so, you know, it felt great, and they were very supportive, and I met a couple of them, and they were very much, you know, do it. It's great what you're doing. So
yes.
Just enjoy it. And that was lovely. And that was a big thing. And then coming over to the concert hall in Dublin was amazing, and selling that out a couple of times in a row.
Yes. That's just insane that you did that.
Yeah.
Like,
I love
it's
that.
brilliant.
Yeah. And I love coming, you know, that Finding Ireland as well has been a big thing for me, just like coming over there, and the people are so supportive. I love that. And I always love going over there. I feel like I've got a connection to it, you know. So that's a big moment, just seeing those people, because at that point, you know, it was early on in my leaving where I live area to sing, you know what I mean? Getting on the flying over, turning up somewhere, and then there was like people, you know, sold out. Like, how do they know? You know what I mean? That I've been travelling for a few hours, and there's people there, you know what I mean? So that's amazing, and that I'll always remember that and be grateful for that. You know, I'm lucky to go and do that a lot now, but I'm still like, you know, that's still amazing. You know, these people are in a different country and they want to come see me, so that's lovely. And then just meeting some heroes, really, you know. So I've been recording a lot of music and doing a lot of projects with people that I've had on radio and podcasts recently, and just people that I've always grown up listening to, maybe my parents' favourites, or they've had them on all the time, or I've seen them on TV, and now I'm like communicating with, you know, WhatsApping them or whatever, and just we're supporting each other and working together, and that's just amazing. And obviously, I'm really, really grateful for that. That's been the biggest thing, that networking, because it's
the networking,
not really inspired me, but kind of motivated me and give me that kind of reassurance that I should be doing it. Do you know what I mean? That same kind of thing. It gets just a little bit smaller, because I'm like, okay, these guys talk to me and respect me, and I respect them. So that's nice. It's really nice. Yes,
and the big thing is, in this life, let's say, the people that we admire and appreciate, they are people. They're just people, right? They're not. Everyone's just a person. And like, 'cause I had this experience. There's this really high-profile Irish actor. He came into the open mic the other week, David Keenan.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, this guy David Keenan, like, he's a big kind of like let's say folk hero.
Yeah.
And he ended up using my guitar, and then I had a little chat with him, and I was just thinking, he's just another guy. He's not. We give such reverence or prestige, or so. Sometimes we get kind of blinded by, you know, how we feel about them. We put them on that pedestal, let's say.
Yeah.
But I suppose for you then, because you've got to meet people, you're saying, and they want the best for you, or they want to support you. Like, what's it been like in terms of being from going from, oh my God, this person is amazing, to I actually kind of know this person now?
Yeah, it is amazing. It's weird, but it's also, I think, I mentioned motivation. I think that's a big thing for me. Like, it's really motivating because I'm thinking, you know, that I'm working with great people, and you want to surround yourself with people that you want to be like, don't you? I think that's really important.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to work with people that inspire me and that I really respect. So it's strange still, you know. Like, there's people that I've got a big show coming up in June. It's like featuring a host of like celebrities, and it's a charity event that I've sort of put on, and it's like the headline act. It's not all been announced yet. The headline act is like my mum's absolute favourite, and like she used to.
Oh no, that's just amazing.
Yeah, and I'm just like, this is amazing. I'm so grateful. You know, she's absolutely. It was her first gig she ever went to was this person, and things like that. You know, and it was
no way.
Look, well, I've sorted her out for this gig. You know, come and say hello to her after the gig, and it's going to be, you know what I mean, and things like that are just, you know, that's what it's made of.
This is what life is. This is why it can be so beautiful sometimes, because your mother of it, like she. This is what I realised about parents understand. Your mother understands you. Like, you'll never know. Like, she's seen you from like nappies to now. Her perception of you is way it's way deeper than what anybody's perspective of you could ever be, right? And for her, like, forget about you. For her, it must be the most strangest thing, like, for this to have raised this man, and now he's running this gig where she had reverence for these people that he's pulling into this event. It's just trippy. It's just trippy.
It is, yeah.
It's just brilliant, and with just. Jeez, there's so many rabbit holes we could go into, but I want to go down to, so with the tour, the first selling out at the concert hall in Ireland, like, before you did that first show here in Ireland, like, what gave you the sense that was something that was in your vicinity of possibility, let's say, or something that was actually possible for you to do?
Yeah, I think it's people that I was surrounded with as well. So it got to a point where I did a tour. It was all like a UK tour, and it was really good. You know, I was doing theatres, and they were all full, and the feedback was brilliant. And it came from the people I was surrounded with that I'm working with, but also kind of the people online. So we were doing loads of stuff online, and people saying, you should come to Ireland, you should come to Ireland, you should come to Ireland. And there was this real thing happening where people listening to my video, they were loving it, and they say, oh, you'd be great in Ireland, you should come over. You know, we love this style of music. And I think that makes you think, if there's a demand, if people want you there, then you'd be silly not to go. You know, it's really
yes.
So that idea, I thought, would be just, let's go, let's try and see what.
Let's try it.
Yeah, and I did it once, and you know, it was a lot of work, not a lot of work, but it was amazing when I was there. The feedback, and people that have been following me online for years, and then they're like, oh, I can actually say hello to you, and I can go, do you know what? I thank you. You know, they'll say, I'm so and so. I'm like, I know, I recognise you comment on everything I do. I'm so grateful, and to meet them.
Wow.
And, you know, that's another, like you say, trippy moment, isn't it? That,
yes.
You're that. You know, whoever Joe says, I love this song, or have a great day every single day on my posts. Now I'm sat here, you know, shaking your hand, or, you know,
shaking your hand and actually seeing you in real life. And because we're having this, I'm having a little bit of it now as I'm moving towards with this song. Kind of getting messages of people saying, oh, like, just randomly, I like what you're doing. I'm just like, what? Who's this? They're just random people. And it's beautiful, and you have to kind of, it's hard. Because there's people that you obviously have reverence for, let's say, in your life.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, I really love what this person is doing. And they instill you with that inspiration. So when you're receiving that, you can't really comprehend it. You can kind of get a sense of, okay, there's something that I'm doing that is giving them they feel that they want to reach out to me to let me know what I'm making them feel. And it's very profound, and it's it's very gratifying, let's say, but it is hard because sometimes, like, there's this poet who I had a podcast with, who I think, for my personal, I'm not a big poetry guy, but her words have had such an impact. Like, I've had to think about them for a while. She's only sort of on the Dublin scene, but for me, it was like I was giving her this such gravitas or whatever. But, like, for her, I'm very flamboyant. I'm just very, I'm just spilling my guts. Like, oh my God, you're so good. But for her, it's like, well, what can I do with this? Like, I can't.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting, actually, isn't it? Yeah, when you think of it like that.
It's because it's hard to think. Sometimes it's hard to, like, how do you take compliments in a way? Like, it's hard because I've noticed sometimes I'll try. Before I used to try deflect, and I still kind of sometimes will. I'll be, oh yeah, thanks, but what about your thing? Or you're also great. Instead of trying to do, like, because when you give a compliment, they want you to have the compliment in a way. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a really hard thing to get used to, isn't it? That, especially if you do a show and then it's like people that want to, you'll come see you afterwards, or sign albums or whatever it may be, or photos, things like that. And it's obviously they're just full of gratitude, and they want to say that show was amazing. I love this song, what you did with this, and this is great, and I love this, and I love your jacket, I love your shoes, and blah blah blah. And it's non-stop, and it's like it's really people think, oh, you love it, you love the attention. But it is lovely, and it's really, again, it's that whole idea of, I should be doing this. People are enjoying it because, that imposter syndrome, it's not about what people in industries think, oh, you're not as good as me, or you're not as good as them. It's actually like, well, I'm doing this, and I'm going out, and I've just sung to 500 people, and they're all really happy, and they've enjoyed it. That's what's important.
That's it.
It's not, oh, well, yeah, but you didn't sing it as well as da-da-da-da-da.
Yes.
These people are happy, they're singing it, and I'm doing the best that I can. So, but yeah, the confidence is hard, but I think the exception, and that's a really good point, is just people want you to accept them, because if you go, oh, don't be silly,
then you're degrading everything.
Yeah, if you go, oh, don't be silly, you're better at that than me, then they'll be like, oh, okay.
Well, like they want, yeah. And it's just something that I've noticed, because in Ireland, like, it's more like we're very like, sure, it'll be grand, and we don't want to get too big for our boot. And even in, like, the UK, New Zealand, there's this, like, tall poppy syndrome.
Yes.
Where keep your head down so you don't get your head cut off, whatever. So, but it's not about, you're not going out saying, I'm the greatest of all time, look at me. If people are giving you compliments, the best thing to do is try your best to try and take it on and just show appreciation, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I struggle with that in terms of you always feel bad, don't you? Because you take it. I think it's great because I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And the way I would do it is I would say, oh, that was amazing. But at a show, I would say, well, thank you so much. I'm so grateful you were here to experience it. That's such a compliment. That
is an interesting way of saying it.
Yeah, you're so glad you're here to see it, and then thanks to you for being here, I wouldn't have been able to have done it, so you wouldn't have been able to say you enjoyed it, if you didn't come along, because there'd be no ticket sales. So that's important as well, and I think people always say, you get really, big for your boots and really,
yes,
but you don't, because you take on board and you think, okay, they really like that, I'm going to do more of that. It's
yes. I know what to do next.
Yeah, exactly. And the important thing is what's always hard as well, isn't it? When you're doing interviews and things like that, I always get this thing where I get certain points in my weeks or months where I'm like, I just feel like I'm just talking about myself all the time. It's really hard. I want to talk about people. So a big thing for me is like just matching everything by going and saying, well, can I talk to you about what you do, or can I help you put your song on this, or can I, what can I do? We're all teamwork. I want to give something back. Let's exchange, not just take. So,
yes, that's actually a really interesting point, because what you can do, let's say, where you can pay the gratitude forward, or you can pay the goodwill forward, instead of harvesting it all and just like sitting up on your mountain. You can be like, oh yeah, I'll take that, and then I'll also be bringing that forward with me, and I'll push it forward. It's like sometimes in a vending machine, just leaving the change in the vending machine. For someone else, because it's brilliant. Actually, someone's passing us the baton. And we can either keep it going, or we can just say, oh, I'm going to keep this now.
It's passing on. That's completely what it is, isn't it? There are people come and say, oh, I love this, and you do something. And it turns out that their son is in the band, and they got this great track. And I say, well, can I put it on my show, as a new track? Or it turns out that they really love, this artist. I'm like, well, oh, it's great. I'll pass that message on because I'm working with them next week or whatever it may be. I'll get them to send you a video or shout out or.
Yes.
There's always something that you can do for each other, isn't there? And I love that pass the baton on. That's such a good.
Yes, and you're because you've achieved like you've your own radio show.
Yeah.
So like as you've moved forward, like you have more opportunity. Like let's say you played my song on your radio show, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
But, like that mightn't be. Like, because you have a radio show, it's like, you could do that. Like, I couldn't play it on my radio show, or it wouldn't be as grand or whatever, but the fact that that's in your wheelhouse, and it mightn't be that big of a deal for you, let's say, but it can have such a positive impact, like, it's disproportionate, let's say, for you to do it versus the actual, impact it has, let's say. But you've gotten to a place where you can have a disproportionate impact with an investment of your time now because you've come along this way so far, and I just want to get it. I'm conscious of time here, so I just want to get into the radio show stuff a little bit. So how did you end up with a radio show?
Yeah, that is a great question. I mean, the simple one-word answer is lockdown. Really, COVID. I mean. I was at home. Obviously, I was meant to be on tour that year. I had some great, really big shows lined up. So it's more international work as well, which is a real shame. And I was at home, and then I thought, I can't go out on tour, but I can still kind of record. So I recorded with some really awesome people where we kind of share, like file share, and come back and forth. I released quite a lot of music that year, and got some great collaborations that I've sort of really made some really good friends through that. So that was the one element. But the other element was like, well, I want to kind of reach out to musicians and other creatives and sort of say, how are you? Let's talk. Can we just meet up and record and talk about how good your career's been and just make you realise that life's great. I know you can't go out at the moment. You may be feeling really, you're at home just going, this is awful. But hang on, let's just look about the 3 Mobos you've got or the 12 Grammys you've got or whatever it may be, from that. Or just, that you've written this great song. It doesn't have to be these superstars, So that's where it kicked off. And I literally just went on Zoom and did a Facebook Live on a Sunday. And I'd say, how are you? How are you doing? And the whole first 20 minutes would be just saying, how are you? How are you finding lockdown? What are you doing to keep busy? Is there anything you can? I said, well, why don't you're a great songwriter. Why don't you do a lockdown album, or why don't you do this or do that? And it was this kind of chat, and then it would lead on to say, and now we know what you're going to do. How you're going to keep busy. You're going to be fine. Let's look at your career. It's been amazing. You've played here and you've recorded with this person. Blah, blah, blah. And it kind of went from there. And then I got offered a regional show, so it was just from the southwest of England that I did for a year. So the second year of lockdown, and I was just doing every weekend, and that was great because I was having these artists saying, "You're amazing. This music's great. You should do this," but I couldn't play their music because it's just on this sort of Facebook Zoom show. So I was like, actually promote what we were talking about the whole time. So I thought, I want to get a radio show. That'd be so good. So I did the regional show for a year, and then came along this national show where they said, they listened to some demos and like, this is great. We want this. So I started doing that. It's just over a year now, so that was like the third year, that we're in now.
Wow.
After the lockdowns, and that was amazing. I was like, I'd love to do this national show, news, ads, weather, the whole lot, and then with the last, probably just before Christmas, I think, it's sort of saying, well, would you take on the weekend breakfast shows? Your Saturday and Sunday breakfast, which was huge, and you take on that sort of, make it more of a celebrity feature, that Saturday behind closed doors, with celebrities on a Saturday breakfast show. And it's just, the guests have just got more and more ridiculous from there, really. And that's just me trying to stay busy in lockdown, and it's just grown. I've had to now take on all my normal workload plus a radio show. So I'm now like, oh,
that's insane.
Yeah, because I'm grateful. I don't want to get rid of anything because I'm grateful to be given all that opportunity.
Yes, and just having a show, like the fact that I have a podcast, I'd say, and even it's as small as it might be, it doesn't really matter. I get a chance to talk to people. Brilliant. And like we're saying, like big guests, small guests, like big fish, small fish, cardboard box. People are people, and there's so much to be gained if you're curious and interested. Because I just feel like, and when let's say I listen back to this, I'm like analysing myself, and I'm learning more about, let's say, hosting, or I jumped in too much, I was too vague there, or just all these. I'm always learning about myself and the hosting process, let's say, and from the guest, like, because I'm hearing it now, but when I hear it again, it's like it doubles. It's like we had two conversations.
Yeah, and it's not you're not thinking, oh, what do I need to go on to next, or where are we, or what am I? What's the time? You know, it's very different.
Yeah. It's like I could enjoy it.
The crash, you know what's going to happen.
Yes,
you know it's done when you listen to it the second time.
Yes, that's so funny because you do find yourself in two minds when you're doing the host, and let's say, especially when I'm doing it live, I'm just like, look, I'm hoping that I, hit record on the camera, or I have the everything like, is everything all right? Or when my laptop, let's say, sometimes it goes into sleep mode, and I'm just thinking, oh yeah, I'm just talking to the person, but really my brain is like, God, it's like, oh my God, everything's over.
What's that? Yeah, love that.
Yeah. So how have you with the hosting? What are kind of some big learnings or big takeaways? Because you started from, let's say, just a small kind of lockdown show to national radio show. Obviously, you have to have some sort of skill in the hosting department. So what would you say is have you learned, or what are the takeaways there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, well, again, I had like the imposter syndrome, like jump right back up to 100% again, because I'm like, here I am, I'm hosting a show, a national show, and I've never done this, I didn't train, I wasn't blah, 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 and I know do a lot of, that present on some really big, great BBC radio shows, and like, they're going to be listening, what is he doing, and I'm like, but I've been offered it, I'm going to do it, and the biggest learning curve I took from it, sort of listening back to the lockdown shows, was I got rid of actually as much formality as possible, and I know that sounds really weird.
Yes.
But when I started, I always still have questions, obviously, but I had like questions stuck all around, and it was like very ordered, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'd have like, if they say this, do this, and I'd be very much, and I'd have an introduction as well, like hello and welcome, like really informal, like really formal rather.
Yes.
Very stilted, and like completely opposite to this, which is just lush. We're just like having a conversation, and we don't. We're gonna know we don't know where it's going to go, and that's the best way. Is people are listening. Is basically listening, and what I wanted to do is basically say, I'm going to invite these guys in. I'm a musician. They're a musician. We're both in the arts industry, and I just want to chat with them as if I've met them whilst having a drink or I've gone out for lunch.
Yes.
And the listeners at home are just going to be a fly on the wall, and the listeners seem to say they love it. So it's very much like this. I'm like, yeah, cool. So this happened. I mean, what was that like?
Yes.
Not so back in 2016 at 5 o'clock. You and all could you express the emotion it made you feel?
At that exact particular point in time.
Exactly. Please answer. And they'd be like, and then just go into the next question. And then this, or just trying to find out, oh yeah, well, I heard once you fell out with this person or whatever, or this didn't go very well, did it? It puts the back up straight away. They're not interested in it, they won't, and they're just going to shut down. They don't want to stay in touch with you afterwards. So the keys for me is come at them as a musician, as a friend, have a chat. Yeah, how's it going? Oh, it's great. Yeah, I love it. Blah, blah, blah. And just say, well, I think it's great you've done that, and it's really exciting. What's coming up, and what do you want to play?
Yes.
Blah, blah, blah. And then I think probably like 80-90% of guests I'll have, I'll stay in touch with, like regularly.
Wow.
They might come to my music schools and do a masterclass with the kids, or they might, they might play on a record that I've helped put together with someone, or whatever, that we just stay in touch.
Yes.
Well, I know somebody that plays guitar that could do that, and it's somebody that's been on the show, and I've built this huge network from just coming on the show.
Yes.
Talking to them from an hour to then saying, well, actually, now we're doing a tour together. I'm doing a tour with a couple of my guests, or I'm doing a masterclasses with like 5 or 6 of my guests, or whatever it may be. It's just amazing, isn't it? So, biggest thing for me was just the relaxed chat, non-threatening, like not overly structured. Yes.
This is what I learned earlier on, what you're alluding to there. When you come in with too much of a plan, let's say, like, oh, this is how it's going to flow, and then you don't actually, the problem I find is that if you've too much of a plan, when the interesting points come up, you don't follow them, because you're like, oh, it's not part of the plan, so you're just ignoring it. And I listen to other podcasts, local, let's say smaller podcasts that other Dublin musicians have been on. I noticed that straight away. It's like, they just needed to ask a little bit more about that particular topic instead of going to the next question that they had kind of planned. Yeah. And it also removes, like, let's say, I remember one podcast in particular, I was doing it with my old, an old boss, and I had this plan. And so as soon as we started, I wanted to go by the plan, and I could feel this anxiety when it wasn't going on the plan. Yeah. And instead of like living in the conversation. Now, obviously, the most important thing, I have talking points. I'm like, oh, these are things that I want to find out more about, that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But it's not like, I'm not like, lots of the questions will come out of that, and then the real kind of, you know, I'll dance around, and then eventually a question will come out.
Yeah. I love that. It's nice. It's so natural, though. People feel relaxed listening to it, don't they? It's the kind of thing they want to have on in the background whilst they're doing whatever, or they'll listen, or they're on a drive and they'll listen. It's not that really stilted. It's not like, you don't want it to be like a news report, do you? Where it's like, we have to. It's not like...
Yeah, it's messy. And another thing, I used to, I still use the word like sometimes, a lot, when I get in a spasm, when I'm struggling to find words, or how do you find... So, let's say when you are hosting on national radio, do you ever feel, like, do you know when you find yourself in a kind of linguistic hole, or you kept talking and then you're like, oh God, what am I saying? How do I get out? You know, when you're thinking that, like, what's that like on national radio?
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, there's some days that you just can't speak, is there? You know, I was interviewing. It wasn't too bad, but this morning I was doing an interview with somebody, and I was just like, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, you know, I just wasn't in the zone. And I think a big thing for me is getting in the zone. So I'm like, right, cool, I've got this, and I'll research about the guests, you know, whatever. So this morning I was talking to the goalkeeper of the Great Britain hockey team. So she's MBE, she's amazing, super motivational lady, and she's like obviously double the gold medal Olympic medalist and blah blah blah. And she's amazing, she's great, and we were having a lush chat, and I just thought, I just got into the zone. So this morning I was looking at her Instagram, and I was like, she's great, she's super motivational, she's this, and she likes this, and I really get myself into it so that I'm not worried. You know, it's that. No, I think the realistic kind of thing comes when you're not prepared and you're kind of not comfortable, so you're a bit worried.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? No matter how big, and the bigger the guest, the more worried I'll be, and especially if there's this connotation that maybe they've got this front. You know, I remember when I interviewed one of the Sex Pistols, I was like, they're going to be terrifying. He's going to like obliterate me, because they're all like punky, and they were like,
this little classical guy.
Yeah, I thought he was going to ask a stupid question. I'm not answering that, this kind of thing. But he was the nicest guy ever. We've stayed on the record together loads, and he's lush. Lush guy.
Wow.
Like, do you know what? There's no need to worry. And if somebody is a bit tricky, I mean, some people are going to be. You just got to be true to yourself. Just be prepared. Just you know, just go with it. And yeah, I mean, if you're lovely and just stick to your being true self, then they're just going to look a bit silly, aren't they? As well, you know, if they're going to try.
Yeah, exactly. If you put your best foot forward, you try to be as nice as you possibly can, and then obviously because you've done a few shows, I think once you've done a few, now I don't really get as. I do prep, like, you know what I mean? I have notes, because mainly I want both of us to come out of this and feel like that was, when we look back at this, we don't really remember exactly what happened, but how we felt about it. I want us to feel good about it, and people, like, getting asked questions and answering, like, I love answering questions, like, so I know people they want to tell you, they want to explain the learnings, they want to give it to you, so if you can help pull that out, and a little bit of preparation just goes a long way. And once you've done it enough times, like, I feel now, you could probably feel the same, like, you could probably talk to anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though you'd be a little bit nervous, but you know you've done it before. Like, it's not your first rodeo. Like, you could do it.
Yeah, it's a really good life lesson as well, isn't it? And great for confidence, because I've started doing a lot of podcasts, kind of masterclass, and work with a lot of children as well. I mean, there's a primary school I'm working with where they've made their own radio station, and they've made their own podcasting, and they're interviewing people, and it's amazing. And the difference in the children, you know, and I'm like, hi, you go like, hi, they're like, hi. Now they're like, good morning, welcome to our podcast. You know,
no way!
They're talking to these like stars, you know, musicians. Like, some of my friends have done it, which has been great. And they're like,
wow,
what was it like getting on top of the pops? Or, you know, what was it like when you got number one? And they're talking to these people and having conversation. I'm like, that's amazing. And
that is amazing.
How much it's helped me communicate with people. Like, unbelievable difference. You know, going to events, you know, getting invites to album launches or parties or whatever it may be.
Yes.
You know, I went to an amazing launch on Friday of an album, and there was some people there that are like amazing, like top of the industry, and I'm like, they came up and they're like, hi, are you alright? And I'm like, yeah, hi, how are you? You know, and I'm confident. I'm not like, I can't speak to them. They won't be interested.
Yes.
I mean, I'm here. I've had the invite. I'm confident enough to speak to them. You know, so it's
yes.
And I think a lot of it has come from this meeting. You you're like meeting Billy Idol on Zoom, and you're like, hi, and I'm like, get on with it. Do you know what I mean? Just do it. You know, it's fun.
Just do it.
Yeah.
I love your attitude. I love the drive. I love this. the reversal of imposter syndrome, because we all kind of feel it, but you've alluded to it so many times. It's like, I'm here. Like, I'm here just as they're here with me.
Yeah.
So I belong here in a way, or I don't have to, not that I belong here, but I don't not belong here. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I am here, so therefore I'm here without.
Exactly. And they don't have to be on that Zoom. If it's a Zoom or it's in person, you've asked them. You've made that step. That's a big thing as well. If you don't ask, you're not going to get that opportunity as well. So
100%.
You say, would you like to come on the podcast? They're like, yeah, absolutely. They're there. Like, if they don't want to be there, and you shouldn't be there, then it wouldn't be happening. So you've got to.
Yes.
They've said yes. They've agreed. So now give it your best shot and show why they've said yes. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, and this conversation at a meta level, because I was like, oh my god, Thomas Cameron. Like, after looking into your bio and everything else, and listening to your song, a part of me, I was a little bit, I hope like I can do this in a way. But obviously, as I got into it, I got comfortable, but there's just a little worry, like, Jesus, what am I doing here? Like, interviewing this guy who's well more established. But I do appreciate, awesome. I really appreciate you making time. A shout out to, obviously, Rob for making the connection.
Absolutely, big shout out to him. Brilliant.
Yeah, I love Rob, man. He's just so great, and he's really helped shape my music, and I think we produced something brilliant here with my upcoming album.
Talking about me worrying about being all about me, but I mean, your music, it's just, I'm lucky enough for you to send it and Rob to send it. Oh, I love it.
I appreciate that, man.
I absolutely love it. And I can't wait for it all to be out there, because it's very, I don't know, I'm a big fan of Simply Red, and I get a bit of that kind of vibe there as well.
Yes. Yeah, Rob keeps saying that, and I'm starting to take that on now, which is not a bad thing.
It's not that, oh, you're not as good as Simply Red.
No, it's just there's a taste, there's like a sprinkle there.
Yeah, that's a great full, like, 360 circle, isn't it?
Yes. I'm just conscious of time here, so I just want to kind of finish up. Is there anything that you'd want to point the listeners or watchers to in regards to the Thomas Cameron Enterprise, upcoming gigs or links or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can, if people want to come, I'm going on. I've got an album on the way, and I'm back on tour this year. So I'm going up to Scotland, and going over to Ireland, and going on to the Isle of Wight, and then I'm doing a lot of mainland sort of England gigs as well. So on thomascamerontenor.com is everything's on there. Links to the radio show as well. So I've got some really cool guests coming up. So that's on every Saturday and Sunday. And there's podcasts from that as well. So, there's the Billy Idol and Boney M ones, and Steve Hackett, Genesis. There's some great ones up there. So if you go on to my Facebook, which is Thomas Cameron, and Instagram, then you'll just see all the links to those as well. If people want to have a little listen and see what we've been about. What's he on
yes!
about? This guy, what's he on about? Yeah.
Yeah, what is he on about? And I'll put all links everywhere else. And just a quick little one. It's just, what if someone out there is listening, they've no experience singing, what would you tell them if they wanted to start singing?
Yeah.
Just like, if you only had a short 2-minute space to tell them.
Yeah, a big thing for me, like, we've said it, and I think this is going to be our quote now, as always, just do it. Do you know what I mean?
Just do it!
Just do it. I'm never going to forget you. I'm going to hear you in my ears now, I think.
Yeah.
Do this. I'm just going to hear you go, just do it. So, get out there and do it, because that's the best thing. I know I work with so many amazing young musicians that have got these incredible songs, or they've got these incredible voices, and they're like, oh no, I can't put anything out yet. I'm like, you've got to put music out there. People need to hear you. And it's annoying me. I can't remember. I was telling this quote to somebody, but somebody said, I can't remember who told me it. It was somebody brilliant that's doing really, really well in music. And they said, don't be selfish in the way of, one, don't be selfish with your voice. Let people hear it. People want to hear it. You've got this amazing talent. Let people enjoy it, because there's so many people that are going to get enjoyment about out there.
Yes.
And these, amazing songwriters as well. Share it with people, people are going to get a lot from it, and they're going to relate. So get out there, post stuff, have your social media accounts, just so you can share music with people, and just never say no. Like, always say yes to opportunities, obviously within reason. If somebody's like, do you want to do that? Don't go, well, are you going to pay me £10,000, or is it going to be 100 people there, or 5,000 people? Just say, I'd love to do it. It's so grateful you've asked me. Thanks so much. Do it, So never say no. I think it's a great one, always think on you. You've got to be grateful, haven't you? If somebody's offering you opportunity, it's a lifeline. It's an opportunity. It could be a break. Do it.
Yes, you don't know who's listening. You don't know what. That's something I've noticed as well. Sometimes I feel, I don't want to do this thing. I don't want to go to this thing. But after I do it, I'm like, so happy that I did do it, because I made this connection. Or yes, exactly. So just play the game, as in play. your life is waiting for you. You know what I mean? Just get out and play it while you got the chance.
We're so grateful, aren't we, to have that opportunity to live in this sort of blank canvas, if you like, this that you can add to. Just absolutely take it. Because everyone's always like, "Oh, you're mental, you do too much." But I'm like, yeah, but I'm so grateful that I've got this life to live and I've got these opportunities. I'm going to take every one. I'm not mental at all. I'm just really grateful that I'm doing it all. Like, how cool is it? I'm doing my dream. Yeah, don't stop. So always say yes.
That's the best way to end. I think we won't hit a higher note. You know, we're only tenors, not sopranos, so we'll leave it there for now. But again, I really appreciate you having it on, and yeah, look, we will catch you in the next one.
You're a superstar. I loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And we're gonna stop on